Good evening, everybody. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube from your folks at what the hell are we called? Nerd Caliber. There we go. So sorry I'm a couple of seconds late here. A little bit of YouTube being its usual pain in the butt, trying to really hard to be, guess what? Something that's run by Google engineers. So it's not exactly the world's most intuitive program out there. Before we get into... Hello, Alex. Hello, Joshua. Hello, Sebastian. Before we get into tonight's show, we're going to discuss a little bit how we're going to do things tonight, because we're going to do a little bit differently. There's not a whole lot of news that dropped in the last week. Everybody was partying and then getting hungover, and nobody put anything out of any really major import. So what we're doing is we're going to be doing our what are we looking forward to in 2019. And this is going to be an awful lot of us just hitting real quickly on a whole bunch of things within all sorts of categories of nerddom. We're not limited to just movies. This isn't a movie show. This isn't a TV show. We got anime, comic books, all sorts of fun stuff in the nerd world. Luke, hello. Lissettle? Baron Lissettle? Lissettle Baron. Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I'm messing up your name. Gia Reptile, I think. What's up? Blue Moon, hello. So, we want you to weigh in, too. As we hit a particular topic or a particular item we're looking forward to, let us know if you're looking forward to it. If we didn't mention something, because we're only going to do 5 each person max per topic, let us know what you want to see, read, experience, etc. in 2019. We'll start with the introductions. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on the internets. Also, I am a burly adopter on some other parts of the internets. Meh. Joining us tonight is Mr. Luffy. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, Internet. I am the one, the only, Byron D. Zero, hailing from parts unknown in Massachusetts. Hi, guys. I run a little podcast called the We Trash Can Podcast.
Byron, bring it down, man. You are peaking your mic like crazy.
I'm sorry. I'm just excited to be here.
I know you're excited. That's better. Awesome.
But I digress. I run a little podcast called the We Trash Can Podcast. Been away for a while because of the holiday season. But we should be posting new stuff soon. Eventually, let Rodney let me post something about it on the website, but we'll see what happens.
Write it up, man. Write it up.
All right. So,
make it so, number 2.
Make it so. Speaking of number 2, the number 2 in my editorial department here at Nerd Caliber. That's really not the way I meant to say that. Anyway, my bald-bearded brother, take it away.
Are we really not doing phrasing anymore?
We are apparently not doing phrasing anymore.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a couple of new people we got on here. Alex Sanchez, well, we said hi and then bye, so I don't know whether he's saying, but hopefully we've got a couple new folks in there as well. My name is Greg Snyder, a.k.a. Wonderllama Cosplay and Wonderllama Photography. I'm associate editor at Nerd Caliber. I've got a bunch of cool books, movies, TV stuff I'm looking forward to in 2019. And we are going to do, as Roddy said, we're going to do our best to keep it short, sweet, to the point, and, we're all, what's the word, loquacious. So we're going to do our best to, to keep the hits quick and down and dirty.
Yeah, we talked a lot. Ghostly, welcome. Greetings and salutations as well. So I have these things in order, and then one of the people that was going to be on is not on, so I guess I'm going to take his first one. Anyway, so movies, starting with the category movies. One of the ones I am looking forward to, in addition to Manny, who is going to be the one talking about this, is Shazam. I really want to see DC do a fun, enjoyable, an Ant-Man kind of superhero movie instead of DCU blue dark grim stuff. The trailer looks like a lot of fun. I'm sorry, what?
So I take it you haven't seen Aquaman yet?
I haven't yet, but yeah, we're going to keep these short, remember? So, that's my first one. let's Greg, why don't you take the next one? What was your next item?
I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna have to wait for the picture to load to make sure. Which one did I throw up?
I think that was your first one.
Okay. Come on, YouTube, catch up. I'm still seeing Shazam here, which I am looking forward to seeing. But there we go. The Addams Family. If you have not heard, the Netflix, I believe it is Netflix Studios. I don't recall who it is. Doesn't matter. There's a new theatrical release coming of the Addams Family, but it's animated. The picture you see there is one of the released images that is very, to my way of thinking, kind of new school version of Edward Gorey's originals. And the voice cast is people like not Barbara Streisand. I'm sorry. I'll come back. Oscar Isaac as Gomez. Charlize Theron as Morticia.
How did you mistake Barbara Streisand and Oscar Isaac?
I did not.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I meant to say Bette Midler as Grandmama, but cool. They're both divas of a certain age. So, but Bette Midler is more my spirit animal than Barbara Streisand. Anyway, looking forward to seeing it. Looks great.
Cool. All right. So what I'm going to do, since we don't have our own stuff sort of in front of each other, I'm just going to bring up the next image, and if it's something that I had on my list, I'll talk first, and then we'll go around Byron, then Greg. Of course, the next one, Avengers Endgame. Who's not looking forward to Avengers Endgame? Come on, somebody tell me that there's going to be somebody out there who's just not really excited. I'm really excited. I obviously want to see what happens, how they bring back all of these dead people, because, sorry, spoiler alert, Infinity War, because they're gonna. Yeah. But the initial teaser looked really awesome. I was really excited for it, and I'm more excited for it now that teaser is out. Byron, thoughts?
I am bringing a big old box of tissues because I know this is going to be a certain someone's final film.
Despite the fact that there's an awful lot of speculation out there that it won't be. I assume you mean Captain America. Perhaps. Greg, you are not excited. There we go. Greg, your take.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be good, but as anybody has followed this before, my take on this is like the Thanos, Darkseid, Galactus level super bad guys don't do a whole lot for me. They're too big. They're too next level. I'll see it. I'm sure I'll cry. I'm sure I'll enjoy it, but it would not be. It did not make my top 3 or 4.
Now this one, I can't remember if this was yours or Manny's or both. A Glass.
I think both of us threw that down.
All right, so why don't you start with Glass?
So, by all accounts, M. Night Shyamalan returning to form. I'm blanking on the name of the movie he put out last year that got great reviews, but kind of a
Split.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of the third entry between Unbreakable and Split. Phenomenal cast. It'll be great to see some of these like legends of the screen in veteran roles here. And the trailers that I've seen so far look batshit crazy, bug-eyed, insane. So, there you go.
Byron?
I gotta say, I'm totally all in for this one because this is like the final piece of a puzzle that Shyamalan's been putting together for a while now. Although I haven't seen Split yet because I'm lazy, but I have it in my collection of screeners. I'll watch it sooner or later.
Well, you should. Having said that, I haven't seen it yet either, so I am. I would love to see M. Night Shyamalan redeem himself with this. From what I understand, like you say, Greg, he did a pretty good job. Blue Moon, while we're getting through this, let us know what the oof is all about. I'd like to know whether or not that means you don't want to see Glass, or you stubbed your toe. And Ghostly, I think we all agree here that this combination, it's almost like Shyamalan knew what he was doing. But I don't know. All right, moving on to the next one. Joker. I'm going to start with this one because I think this might have been on everybody's. everything I've seen about this, as much as I was a little bit worried about Joaquin Phoenix, everything I've seen about this looks amazing. I'm really excited for this particular take. And I don't mind terribly that it's clear confirmation of what WB or Warner Brothers has been saying all along anyway, that they've stopped with the idea of an integrated DCU EU, that it's going to be a whole bunch of, let's make a whole bunch of really cool movies that, you know, real auteur directors can do on their own.
Hallelujah to that.
Hallelujah. All right. Well, Greg, then take it away.
From what little I've seen about this so far, it looks pretty interesting. Joaquin Phoenix, definitely an X factor here. But he's one of those crazy ass actors that, unlike a certain other Joker who I think was universally loathed, I think actually could dive headfirst into this role in a good way and not in a sending things to his castmates that we shouldn't talk about in public kind of way.
So dive head first, like diving into a vat of green goo. Byron, your take on Joker?
Nobody asked for this movie, pretty much. That's how I feel about it. I mean, after the success of Aquaman, I'm not completely saying no to like continuing the EU, but I'm cautious about this film.
Yeah, I think cautious. I'm cautiously optimistic. You're just cautiously neutral, which, you know, I guess that means that the thing that ties us together is we're cautious.
We're cautiously optimistic.
There you go. Blue Moon. Well, you know, you can say oof all you want. There you go. And the Ghostly. I love the Joker too. I love almost every iteration of him. Leto. No. Okay.
No.
The less said, the better. All right. I think this is actually on Manny's, but John Wick 3. Not really a nerd movie, or kind of a nerd. Well, anyway.
I cover it for this. I'll take the reins for this one.
All right, fire away, Byron.
Okay, so I've been all in for John Wick from the very beginning. I had a good friend school me to the first movie, and I just fell in love. This is hopefully going to be the linchpin in what was so much built up from the first two movies. You see John Wick go from being out to being so far in that he ends up killing everyone that's after him and becoming one of the bosses of bosses.
Greg, opinions?
There you go. I am one of those rare weirdos who has not seen either one of them. So, you know,
it is beautifully choreographed ballet-like violence. If you're into that, there's almost nothing that tops it.
Okay. Got my homework cut out for me.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I thought 2 was a little bit less of a story, but I think it was setting up what's probably going to happen here in 3. So it's kind of, you know, it's a setup movie.
Yeah, it's this time it was show, don't tell.
Exactly. Ghostly, I endorse that. I will fund your Kickstarter. John Wick versus Jason Bourne.
Take my money.
Take my money. So we did Adams. All right, next one. Captain Marvel. Yes. Yes, and I believe yes are the particular appropriate words to use here. It looks fantastic. I've mentioned this before, and so I'll put this out there as my one proviso for this. I'm still getting used to Brie Larson's voice, because that's not the voice I hear Carol Danvers in my head. Everything else about this just hits everything I wanted to see in this movie so far, at least in all the teasers and trailers. Let's see. We'll keep going around that way. Byron.
It looks dope. I'm again all in because Brie Larson looked the part, and I'm with you. She doesn't necessarily sound like it, but that's just splitting hairs. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited to see Jude Law as Marvel.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time all around.
Good time had by many, and probably all. Greg, good time had by all?
Presumably, it looks great. It looks pretty spectacular. I'm looking forward to seeing Marvel finally come back with something to punch back at Wonder Woman, if you'll pardon the choice of phrase there.
Girl fight.
Because they really have not had a female-led, MCU movie thus far. Certainly some heavy hitters, again, pardon the pun, but to DC's credit, Wonder Woman, I guess I got to just keep going with this metaphor here. Came out swinging.
There you go. Keep using it
out of
until
the
we're
park.
sick of it.
Sports ball.
Sports ball.
And was with some it had some flaws like anything, but on balance it was a terrific movie. And Marvel has certainly had some. Was it Paul Feig who had some less than flattering things to say about the probability of female-led Marvel movies and what their prospective box office would look like? Was that him?
It could very well have been. He would be the guy who would say it.
Yeah.
Regardless,
it'll be nice to see a strong female character leading a movie and not being a sidekick, not being also appearing in this film.
Yeah. And it's a great character for doing that too. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to a Black Widow movie when that happens. But Carol is the Captain America of the female side of the Marvel universe. She is
she's going to be like the focal point of this next phase of the MCU.
Probably. Everything looks like that. Ghostly, your queen. Wonderful. I think this next one was Greg, yes? Being the animation fan you are. Lego too?
Yeah. Huge animation fan. I Lego Movie 2 coming out. I hope to God they can sustain that same just in-your-face ridiculousness, meta commentary, everything that made it so good, or dare I say, awesome. It's super rewatchable. I mean, a lot of movies suffer, and once it hits cable, it's like, yeah. But Lego is still fantastic. Lego Batman movie. I'll watch the first 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of that anytime it shows up, and there's nothing else on. So I think I already called dibs on the screener for this one.
You did. Assuming somebody doesn't break your legs.
Fair.
I agree. I really, and everything I've seen about the trailers make it look just as silly, as corny, but still in an enjoyable way. Not corny like, oh my God, I want to turn this off right now. Like corny like, that's just, I can't believe they did that. Blue Moon, we're with you. Just the idea that Emmett still thinks everything is awesome in this Mad Max Fury Road aliens are invading universe that he's now in. I think it's wonderful.
My sincere hope is that so many sequels have to stuff in so much more stuff. It's the Spider-Man 3 principle. It's got to be bigger, more, and more. It doesn't always add up. I mean,
you're hitting the 3-sentence.
Sorry,
as opposed to 1 sentence.
I'll hold up Wreck-It Ralph 2 as an example of what not to do with your sequel.
Byron, your feelings on this, on Lego 2?
Well, I'm definitely excited to see more of this world that has been built, pun intended, from the last movie. I love the Lego movie. I've watched it multiple times. It's one of the pinnacles of animation, in my opinion. And I will be elated to see it with my little sister because she loves it just as much as I do.
Cool. All right, moving on to our next one. That is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Yes.
Hidden World, I think is the official title of it. Greg, also yours, correct?
I believe it was. And Byron, you may have to take me as your +1 for this, since I saw you call dibs on the screener. I've been a huge fan of this series since it came out. What do you need to say? It's animated, it's dragons, it's probably one of DreamWorks' better features. One of my cats hangs upside down off of a cat tree and looks exactly like Toothless. So, I have a little bit of a soft spot there. And Toothless finally gets his groove on.
That's true. Byron.
Yes. I love this series so much. I watched Rise Break off and on, and this is going to be an epic finale to this trilogy.
I think it looks pretty cool. I haven't seen the second one yet, so I've got to see that before this comes up. I just love the idea that they've turned Hiccup into Hiccup Daddy.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. All right, I
That's
can't
your
believe
new
that
handle.
I can't believe this wasn't on anybody else's list. Star Wars 9, kids.
So we had a quick comment. This could be pretty telling. Luminous says, "Hello all. Saw the NYCC panel for How to Train Your Dragon. It looked good. Good to see. We haven't seen anything but the publicly released trailers, and I didn't make it to New York this year. So thanks for the input."
Cool. Ty, thank you and welcome. Ghostly, I'm glad you like them. I loved the first one. I haven't, like I said, haven't seen the second one. Anyway, moving on. Star Wars 9. So I'm really looking forward to it.
What is it?
Star Wars Episode 9? What's that movie?
You lost me.
Yeah, I haven't
What?
heard of this franchise. What's it all about?
Is that the Solo sequel? Sorry.
I think so.
That would be pretty funny. I'm really looking forward to what they do with this. Apparently, there is a 1-year time jump from the end of Episode 8 of Last Jedi to this, which probably was put in place to take care of the story elements of the fact that Leia is going to have to be gone. What else it means, I don't know. And what is going to happen with Rian Johnson's shocking vision of what the Star Wars universe became by the end of his movie, I don't know. So that alone makes this a must-see for me. I've got to see where they take this.
Yep.
I'd like to think that they're going to continue with his excitement and innovation, but even if they don't, it's still going to be a hell of a thrill ride. Byron.
So I did not.
Oh, Greg.
Sorry, yeah, Byron.
Byron.
Okay, I'm one of those weirdos that actually enjoyed Last Jedi. It's in my Blu-ray collection. Yeah. I don't see why people were mad about it. Art doesn't exist in a vacuum. I am going to be on the front row seat for this. Well, back row because you can see better for this movie.
Cool. Greg.
It's funny. I had it on my list to include in my 5, but figured it's such a given that I had other things, so I didn't. I'm looking forward to it. I also enjoyed Last Jedi. I didn't get butthurt about it. You can't just keep remaking, A New Hope and an Empire over and over again, or the criticism becomes that was a great movie the first 3 times you made it.
Yep.
It's love it or hate it. It's a huge pair of Jedi booties to fill with what Johnson did with this. Not to mention with Carrie Fisher obviously only being from what we've seen, she's going to have some little pieces of it from some stuff that was filmed, but obviously, hopefully, Disney, remember when you told everyone you weren't going to make hologram Leia? Keep that promise.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see it. Who are we kidding? We'll be lined up for it.
Of course we will. Blue Moon, I haven't seen this thing, Truth or Dare. We'll look into it. But we're talking about 2019 movies now. And before I get to the last one in the movie thing here, I did want to, just because the trailer just came out and I just heard about it, the next Jordan Peele horror movie, Us, looks scary as bejeebus. And it looks like he's just going to do another really frightening movie. So we'll put that in there, even though we don't have an image.
Hey, wait! How did that not make it on there? So speaking of Jordan Peele, I thought I threw that on for my TV thing, but I guess not.
You did not.
Nope,
I know what
mind.
you're talking about. So at the end of the TV segment, just mention it. Next up is our last movie, Spider-Man: Far From Home. I love the fact that we get to see things like the stealth Spidey suit because some show convention somewhere it looks like somewhere where they speak Spanish based on the signs, actually had various suits from the movie on some sort of display at a convention. And it's like, yeah, that's great. So we get to see. That's what the image is that's up there, folks. We did not talk about Godzilla because it wasn't on anybody's list. And Luminous,
No.
I hate to say this, but I despised the last one so much with Kreisenberg and oh, it was so stupid. And the hey, let's save this little kid until my wife calls, and then oh, out of the movie. Anyway, that I didn't. I'm not. It looks visually stunning. I've got to see something more about it to find out whether or not they've redeemed that piece of garbage in my mind that was the last one. But anyway, Spider-Man: Far From Home. I really like Jake Gyllenhaal. I really want to see what he does as a superhero villain. That alone, and the fact that obviously Homecoming was so amazing, and Tom Holland is the Spider-Man that we've all always wanted, that's going to get me into the theater no matter what. Byron.
I loved Homecoming. It's a there's been some divisiveness as to the quality of the film, but I'm looking forward to see Jake Gyllenhaal in the Mysterio costume, which looks amazing, by the way, from what I've seen of it.
Divisiveness in the quality of Homecoming, or in what people think Far From Home?
And what people think of Homecoming.
Oh, all right. I thought it was great. Oh well. I've not read any of that, but obviously you have.
Yeah.
Greg, Spidey. There you go. 2 thumbs up.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. Luminous, yes, and it's got a lot more than King Ghidorah. Yeah, we're back on Godzilla for Luminous. Moving on, TV. I think this is on everybody's list, so I'll start. Stranger Things 3. Stranger Things everything. Please, yes. That there's again, like in Star Wars 9, there's a time jump of 1 year to account for kids getting older. And it puts them into 1985. So apparently Back to the Future is going to be a big part of this particular movie, which is going to be awesome, or show, which is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. Stranger Things has done almost no wrong. I thought the pacing in 2 was a little bit off from 1.
A little slow in places.
Yeah, but other than that, it was in other ways it was much better. I love David Harbour anyway. I thought his Hopper and what he had to do with that character in 2 was even better than 1. Anyway, Byron, Stranger Things 3.
I still need to finish season 2.
Oh.
Go do soon.
I'm all in. Loved season 2. It had about 15% more Paul Reiser than I like in my TV shows, but your mileage may vary. No, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a clever follow-up. I could have completely done without the episode where 11 goes and becomes an extra from Pat Benatar's Hell is for Children video. But, other than that, rock solid. Season 3, especially the jump into 1985, is going to be pretty bitchin'. Totally tubular, maybe.
Totally tubular. Danny, we don't shout out anything other than our excitement about nerd stuff. So this one, I think, was on everybody's, but obviously I'm going to... That was a hard cut, not a fade. I'm going to let Greg take away American Gods Season 2.
Looking forward to it. I've been a huge fan of the book. I'm a huge Neil Gaiman nerd. Read it multiple times, listened to the audiobook once, maybe twice. Season 1 was fantastic. I'm a little disappointed that Gillian Anderson's not coming back. She was a highlight. Yeah, that face Byron just made.
Those are real tears here, folks.
Yeah, that's not fake tears. But from what I've seen, they're writing around it reasonably well. Gaiman's still involved, even though Brian, what's his face? I always get Brian Singer and Brian Fuller confused for some reason. Less involvement there. So, again, cautious optimism. Looking forward to it.
Me too. And again, the loss of the original showrunner and producer has, for what I've read, has meant Neil Gaiman has stepped up to the plate. And if you've got the guy who wrote the book being much more involved in guiding the show, yeah, I was going to say that can't be a bad thing, but then again, the
George Martin
or The Walking Dead. Ghostly, great to have you on. Great for chatting with you. Blue Moon, we are all nerds. Bird Box, Danny. We're talking 2019, but I just watched it and it was very good, very interesting. Byron, American Gods, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I finished the book recently, so
cool.
When I get the moment, my life slows down with all my other side projects, I'm going to give season 1 a watch, because what I've seen in clips looks awesome.
It is awesome. You should check it out. I can't wait 2 days. 2 days I have to wait. Young Justice Outsiders. I loved Young Justice. It was probably one of my absolutely favorite comic book cartoons that was ever produced. And folks, I go all the way back to the original Marvel Hour. Captain America throws his mighty shield and all of that stuff.
Rodney, you saw Steamboat Willie in the theater. Be honest.
I did not. I did not. My first movie in the theater was Jungle Book, or The Graduate. I can't remember which one. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. My mom took us to The Graduate.
That seems horribly inappropriate.
It was. It was wonderful. Anyway, that's a totally aside. I love what they're doing with Young Justice, the addition of the different characters. I'm really looking forward to this. And like I said, I only have to wait for 2 more days, January 4th. Byron.
I loved the original run of Young Justice. There was so much about... And it came in at a time when I was trying to wash New 52 out of my mouth. So they're totally going balls to the wall with this one. Sign me up. 2 more days. I will be watching it.
Absolutely. Greg.
I remember watching the original series. I don't remember it super well. I'll probably give it a shot because I love animation. But I'm neutral because it's not a huge favorite personally. Neutral. I got to say, Luminous makes a good point. I'll leave it at that. And say, Rodney, you missed an obvious a segue from American Gods into one of mine for shortly coming up. But
that is true.
So Luminous,
but it is coming up.
We'll get back to that momentarily.
Before then, David, I'm not sure if that's Artemis. I think that is Artemis in a different costume. Picard series. They're saying now that it is definitely a late 2019 drop, so it qualifies as 2019. We don't have an exact month, but they have said late 2019. I am really looking forward to this. I like Star Trek Discovery. I have my CBS All Access. I haven't watched it since Discovery went off because there ain't nothing else I want to see. But I'm really looking forward to the Picard series.
I'll second that, mostly because in my book, Patrick Stewart can basically do no wrong. I'd show up to watch him narrate the phone book, as they say.
Exactly.
And Picard was always one of the most compelling characters in any of the series, in my mind. The fucking was it Captain Kirk or Captain Picard, whatever.
Yeah.
I always found Picard much more intelligent, much more interesting.
Anybody who will turn to a wise ass little kid and go, "Shut up, Wesley." Yes. Byron.
Picard, my second favorite captain, so I definitely am on board for this. I don't know if this takes place after the last movie.
It does.
But
it takes place 20 years after the end of the last canon Next Generation thing, which would be the last movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm definitely excited to see what Jean-Luc Picard has been up to since then.
Me too. Even if it's just him pottering around on a vineyard somewhere in France. Yeah. Yep. Done.
Riding horse from time to time. Who knows?
Ian McKellen shows up as a guest sometime.
A little archaeology.
Yeah, a little archaeology, exactly.
And I'm definitely going to get some mileage out of this on my account as well, because I haven't used it since watching the Tonys.
I forgot it would have been on there. That was a good call. Next up, Game of Thrones. coming to an end, folks. Season 8's coming up. I'm bummed out that it's going to end. I'm very excited that we finally get to see the television ending. Maybe once that's put out there and the television ending is done, George R. R. Martin will get off his ass and finish the book endings. Please? I know. It was a stupid thing to say.
Oh,
You'll probably kill one of your favorite characters down in the book.
Exactly.
Optimist.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. I got to see what the resolution is. Yet another thing. Somebody tweeted out that Kit Harington literally bawled like a baby when he read the final pages of the script for the final episode.
When he realized that Hodor is the Night King. Oh shit!
Spoiler!
Sorry.
Spoiler! Let's hold the door so I can get through it. Anyway.
Same. I mean, this is appointment TV this season. If it wasn't already, yeah. What else is there to say? I'll throw this one in there just because it was such a fun nerds talking about nerdy things. The dragons in Game of Thrones are actually wyverns because they only have 2 legs, not 4. Don't know if anyone else read that this week.
I did not.
Yeah,
I learned something.
There you go. It's clearly applicable to people who have poured through the monster manual for many, many years.
Yeah, if this was D&D, that person would be correct.
Isn't it though?
Isn't it? Isn't it really? I would play that campaign. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the perfect segue. More appointment TV. This is, of course, Archer Danger Island, the last season, because there is only like one quick screen grab out there of the teaser for Archer Season 10, which is essentially Archer in space. And I cannot wait. But Greg cannot wait even more than me. So, Greg, take it away.
Yeah, I'll admit it. I'm a giddy little schoolgirl when it comes to this upcoming season. It's like it hits all of the nerd buttons. It's Archer. It's basically Aliens or Alien, one or the other. What do they say? Lana may be some sort of mysterious floating energy creature. Who knows? Might be the last season, might not be. They've kind of teased that it could very well be. It's possible we get to find out whether the last 3 years have been the weird coma dream fugue after Archer got shot a couple of seasons ago.
Spoiler. Okay, well, it's 3 seasons ago.
And I'm just gonna give myself a real brief plug here. If you'll pardon the phrasing. For the Archer meetup at DragonCon this year, my wife Heather, who does Mallory Archer, did
like no others. She did Polynesian Mallory, and I was Crackers, the talking parrot, mostly because I knew that Lucky Yates would be there. And I got off the elevator, and the entire crowd went, "Crackers!" And Lucky Yates came up and gave me a hug. Yes.
And then he put my wings on and flew around the hotel room.
Because he probably really can fly. Byron, are you an Archer fan? Have you gotten bitten by the Archer bug?
I have not. It's just been so off my radar. I'll get to it eventually.
It's worth. There's been so many seasons. It's worth starting and going through the whole thing. There's some ups and down seasons, but it's some of the funniest stuff out there. Anyway, moving on to our next one. Oh,
to David's point, I think he questions what even is a dragon. Yes, there are many different kinds of dragons out there. I was just kind of making a joke. I didn't know if anybody else had read it. There was something on Gizmodo or one of those sites that somebody threw out that the dragons in Game of Thrones are actually wyverns because they have 2 legs, whereas traditional Western European dragons have 4, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We could do an entire hour-long show strictly called Nerd Caliber, what are dragons?
There was actually a really good at the very
slow news week.
At the very end of its run, Attack of the Show had a really cool segment about a guy who was a dragon expert, and it was just really funny. Anyway, Neon, welcome. How you doing? Moving on to here's that segue. 4 subjects removed. Speaking of Neil Gaiman, Good Omens is coming up.
I think this was probably on more than just my radar, but I threw this one on my list. I'm speaking of Giddy Like a Schoolgirl. One of my favorite books. Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, 2 absolute masters of cracked folklore and the witticism. And I mean, look at the 2 gentlemen you have on screen here. I mean, this could be Ozzy Osbourne's younger brother once upon a time. But David Tennant and Michael, why am I blanking on his name? I still have no memory after New Year's weekend.
Oh crap! Lucian
We'll come back
from Underworld. Tony Blair from The Queen.
Tony Blair, exactly. And he was also on 30 Rock as Liz Lemon's boyfriend for a couple of episodes. So it's a great cast. Neil Gaiman's been heavily involved with writing and production. The series looks great. It's BBC, so it's going to have great production values, and looking forward.
Byron, before we get to your take on whether or not you're looking forward to this, Neon, we're looking forward right now to our 2019 things that we're anticipating, nerd stuff we're anticipating. So let me turn that around, and instead of answering your question, let me ask you a question. What are you most looking forward to as a Marvel movie or as anything coming up in 2019 for nerdy entertainment content? Byron, are you familiar with Good Omens? You're looking forward to it?
I am. I've just started the audiobook recently, so I definitely am interested to getting more of this storyline to scratch my nihilistic itch that this book has been scratching for a bit.
Yep.
Cool. I haven't read it.
Michael Sheen.
Sheen, that's correct.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, so but I'm still looking forward to it just because everything I've seen or read that Neil Gaiman touches is genius.
It's really brilliant.
It's having nothing thematically in common with Hitchhiker's Guide. Tonally, it's very, very similar.
Absolutely. That's why I say it scratches my nihilistic itch, because it has that same tone.
Cool. And as Luminous mentions, he went to another panel, the Good Omens panel at New York, and the clips looked really good, especially David Tennant.
Excellent. Thank you, Luminous, our NYCC panelist extraordinaire online.
Exactly. Well, we're sitting there taking photos or wandering around taking photos. Glad you got to the panels.
Got the good.
So I'd say next up, but this is already up there. Have you started watching, Greg, the current season or final season, I guess, of Series of Unfortunate Events?
I have not yet begun season 3. I probably will this weekend. It's going to be a quiet weekend. I like the books. They're goofy, breezy, dark without being dark grim or grim dark rather, or too bleak. I thought the actors are great. Neil Patrick Harris has gone a long way to erase the taste of Jim Carrey in my mental. It left on a literal cliffhanger at the end of season 2. It's going to be good.
Cool. Byron?
I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I mean, I like season 1. My only quarrel with it was it has like that Scooby-Doo problem where it's just like you see the formula.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have not seen any of them, and I probably should correct that because it is, it's highly recommended by people, including Greg. Greg, I swapped again. Whose opinion I recommend. So,
entertaining.
But Greg, Greg, we're looking forward to your review.
Will do. The big knock that a lot of people have, and it's absolutely true, is that to make the sort of the central premise work, you've got an awful lot of adults doing repeatedly stupid things repeatedly, and kids pointing them out to other adults who don't believe them because they're kids. So that kind of big overarching framing device does get a little repetitive and a little like, come on, man.
All right.
But that said, otherwise, acting is great, stories are great. It's just good, silly fun.
Cool. That would bother me, but anyway, moving on because we're never going to get through these. So last one, and honestly, Greg, this isn't really nerdy, but we'll let you get away with it. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I'll just go super brief then. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think, is the best comedy on TV. Personally, I don't watch all of them, but started out as the Adam Sandberg show, Andy Sandberg show, but has become a fantastic ensemble comedy. I mean, you got Terry freaking Crews, for God's sake, taking the piss out of himself week in and week out. If you like shows like Parks and Rec that are great ensemble shows where characters actually care about each other and it's not just mean and tear down, it's a great show.
Cool. All right, moving on to games, folks. And we're going to really blast through these because I'm the only one that put anything in here, although I absolutely know Byron's going to weigh in on some of these. Boom. Wolfenstein Youngblood. Killing Nazis. And it's beautiful. Absolutely fantastic action. Nothing else needs to be said. Anybody want to weigh in?
Yes, I'm all for killing Nazis.
Good. Next. Bayonetta 3. I'm not excited for this just for the very, very minor changes of whatever might happen in her costume for cosplay. Although that's a very valid point. Honestly, I haven't played any of the Bayonettas. I just know that a lot of my friends have, and they're really looking forward to it. And so that's why I'm keen on this. Anybody else?
I never owned a Wii U, so I never played Part 2, and I don't have a Switch yet. So, but I am definitely looking forward to playing both games.
I've never personally played it, but I've watched goggle-eyed watching some people who are quite good at it. And it's ludicrous. It's just ridiculously good.
This is on here mainly, this next one, Gears of War 5, because I know so many people are looking forward to this. Gears of War 4 left a little bit of a bad taste in some people's mouths. This looks like it's a return to form. Anthony, of course you're jazzed for Bayonetta 3. And welcome to the show, Anthony. We've been missing you. But it's, of course, it's an Xbox exclusive. I do not own any console of any kind. So until they port it to a PC, anybody else?
Yawn.
All right.
Meh.
I bet nobody's going to be yawning or mehing about Kingdom Hearts 3. Byron, why don't you jump right in on Kingdom Hearts 3?
Well, the week that game comes out, I think I might be coming down with a cold. Oh,
God. It looks fantastic. It's been promised for how many years?
Almost a decade?
Yeah, something like that. 9 years or so. And it looks like it's actually really going to happen. And it looks like it might be kind of worth the wait. Pretty good. Here you go, Byron. This one's all you. Jump Force.
Oh, yes. I like arena fighters, especially anime arena fighters. And when it comes out, I'm probably going to be streaming it. Hopefully, Rodney will let me stream it for Nerd Caliber.
I don't know. We do have a Twitch channel, don't we? All right, we'll work on that.
Yes.
David, well, no Nazis in Wolfenstein? What? I'm not sure you remember what game that is.
In German.
Anyway.
In German.
Oh.
The German, the country version.
I don't know how you would release it in another country and take out the antagonist.
Yeah, well,
just cover up the
any image of them.
It may not even be allowed to be released in Germany because of the fact that it has Nazis in it. But anyway.
But the image that you put up a moment ago for that, the giant mech, actually had what looked like the Luftwaffe symbol painted on it, if I remember right, or maybe not Luftwaffe, but it looked like it wasn't a swastika, but it looked like
it was basically the Iron Cross. Yeah. The Luftwaffe cross. Anyway, let's not get into that. Moving on, Skull and Bones. I put this one up there because, and the only reason I put this up there is because it looks like, according to what I've read, it is going to have a very, very extensive single-player campaign. I mean, it's set up as a ship-to-ship combat multiplayer, but everything I've heard and read is that it will have a really super in-depth single-player campaign, and it looks gorgeous, and it looks like it might be the pirate single-player game that is the spiritual successor to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So, anybody else got anything on that?
Well, as long as it's better than Sea of Thieves.
Oh, God. Yeah, that one went down fast. Resident Evil 2 Remake. That's freaking gorgeous. I mean, my God, look at the graphics in that. Anybody?
Well, when I saw the trailer at E3, my girlfriend looked at me and she's like I was losing my goddamn mind, and I was. I'm just like, this game almost got me grounded in high school, because the first time the Tyrant came out of nowhere, I'm just like, oh shit! My aunt's like, what'd you say? I'm like, I said, oh shoot.
Oh darn.
Oh gosh, darn, golly gee.
Golly. I forgot to throw anything on, so I've got two super fast things.
Okay.
Just watched the trailer for The Outer Worlds, which looks basically like Borderlands and Fallout had a baby.
Yep. Good call.
Looks
good
really
call.
good. And Far Cry New Dawn, which looks like Mad Max Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome.
Are we
after
sure
a
that
fashion.
both of those are 2019 releases?
I thought, are they 2018?
No. I mean, I think they might not be. They might be 2020.
Oh, they might be past 20. Okay. I was just recently looking at games you might want to play when they come out next year.
Okay.
So it's possible that was in the. We hope to see them in 2019.
Okay. I'll agree with both of those. Anthony, yeah, the remake does look so good. Seriously, considering dropping the $60 to get it right away. I almost never pay full boat for a game, and I might be there with you. All right, moving on to anime. I mean, My Hero Academia Season 4. What's to say? Really looking forward to finding out more about what the League of Villains are all up to, but more about what the upperclassmen at the high school, UA?
Yes.
Are really about. That big tease at the last episode of Season 5 about, oh my God, yeah, there really are upperclassmen, aren't there? Why haven't we seen any of them? It is pretty cool. Byron.
Okay, first of all, I'm a manga reader, so I already know what's going to happen. That just makes me even more excited to see it in action, because Mirio Tagada is best boy. Power! And I'm just excited to see this new villain in action as well, because he's kind of a big deal too, and I can't wait till October.
Cool. So, Greg, I'm assuming you don't know a whole lot about any of these. Feel free to jump in before I move on to a next topic.
Yep.
This one I am so looking forward to. They're finally making an adaptation of Vinland Saga.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It is dropping this year. It looks gorgeous. This is actually from one of the covers. They haven't put out any real key artwork yet, which is kind of disappointing. But I get the impression, just from the way everybody's talking about it, that they're going to try to get that same sort of hyper detail that the manga is known for. And they're going to get, from what I've read, they're going to keep the blood. Goblin Slayer showed that people could handle really dark, gory, bloody fantasy stuff. I'm looking for and Golden Kamui, very bloody, gory, historical stuff. So I'm looking for this where it sort of comes in between the two. Mr. Byron.
I love seinen. I love dark fantasy. And I definitely love what I've read of Vinland Saga. I kind of fell off on it after a while. I love the premise of it. It's basically Game of Thrones in manga form, because
in a historical real world setting, or sort of extended fantasy version of a real world setting.
Yeah, like all these horrible people doing what they can to get by in the world. And anytime there's a remotely good person, they're basically signing their own death warrant.
Greg, anything on Vinland? Have you heard about this?
I have not. No, I haven't seen it, but it looks interesting. I was looking at the artwork for that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the
Yeah.
era in general.
Yep.
Give it a shot.
Next one up, The Promised Neverland. Also an adaptation. This looks really... This is the spooky, scary, weird anime of the upcoming season that I think everybody's going to want to watch. Bunch of orphans in a fairly idyllic orphan world until 3 of them that are really close decide to escape. And they discover that their idyllic orphan world is so not what they thought it was.
That setup never goes horribly wrong.
Never, ever. I'd really like to see them actually do something like that premise in Darling in the Franxx, which they sort of never really did much with, because it was only there to serve the overall really stupid backstory. That's what this is all about.
That series.
Anyway, Byron.
I'm definitely excited for this series. Like, I started it. I go back to it every now and again. A lot of promise. I love the artwork. I love, like, the wool over your eyes premise that it starts off with. And it's going to be a fun ride.
David, if that's a giveaway tease of The Promised Neverland, shame on you.
No more out of you.
Exactly. But that makes me want to see it even more. I cannot wait.
I'm like, no, you stop.
Cannot wait for the return of One Punch Man. And this is how excited I am right there. Okay. No, I'm seriously, I'm really excited. Honestly, I did not get into Mob Psycho 100, so I do not have it on my list. The second season is also coming up. Made by the same people. But One Punch Man, just funny, so funny, just wonderfully done. Very exciting. Looking forward to it.
It's being done by a new studio.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's Jason Staff.
I don't recall. But what I've seen looks just as silly and funny. So,
I'm looking forward to it. That one I'm familiar with. I'm not as huge an anime fan as you guys are. If I ever get motivated enough to shave my beard off, I'll do One Punch Man again.
Nice.
I've already got the hairdo for it.
Exactly. This is the perfect One Punch cosplayer is Nerd Caliber's good friend Dave Palmacci, who literally looks just like him.
It's a little astounding.
It is kind of.
It is Jason Staff.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that, Byron. All right, moving on to this one. I'm kind of a sucker for isekai. It has been overplayed, but I like the concept of this: the rising of the shield hero. 3 friends wind up in a fantasy world, transported to a fantasy world. They're all given powers and weapons to try to save the world, but the main character, the guy, is the shield hero. His only ability is defense, and he has a shield. And because of that, he is considered the very, very least of all of the heroes that are supposed to be here saving this fantasy world they've come into. And it's his story about how he has to rise above that perception and learn to be the hero that, with the tools he's given. Sounds like a really good story.
Well, I've definitely been following this one for a little bit. The animation looks on point. Hopefully it doesn't screw the pooch like a lot of these isekai series tend to do.
Yeah. That's for that time I got reincarnated as a slime, there's a dozen other just pure garbage. In another world with my smartphone. Oh God, please. Crap like that.
Master of Ragnarok.
Oh wow. Now you're digging. digging into the dirt on that one. Anyway, Boogie Pop doesn't laugh. I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't seen any of the other Boogie Pop stuff, so I don't really know much about it other than the fact that it looks really cool. The animation looks cool, and the story concept, and the fact that it's got all of this depth already there, that appeals to me. That tells me that it's going to be a deep story. Boogie Pop, anybody?
Don't know it.
I thought the original anime for Boogie Pop Phantom was fine. We'll see what they do this time around with this this material. Maybe it'll actually manage to scare me this time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got to go that. I honestly, I think Promised Neverland is going to be a lot scarier. But, and then this one is all you. Look at that bromance in that movie right there. That's Broke Ice Mountain. I'm sorry, that is Dragon Ball Z Broly or Broly. Byron, take it away.
Fan service, fan service, fan service. That's all this movie is. It is two concepts in Dragon Ball fandom that people have been asking to be canon for decades. Broly and Gogeta. I'm not announcing spoilers because if you haven't seen the trailer, it's your own damn fault. I already have my ticket. I'm probably going to see it more than once. It looks dope as hell.
David, the Roland answer's real. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan, so I'm not even remotely interested in this. But I know so many people who are. I think this is going to be freaking huge. So
what a time to be alive!
What a time to be alive! And actually, I thought that I put that at the end. I didn't. So my last one is Revisions. Sort of another isekai, although a science fiction one. High school students transported 300 years into the future, into a pretty dystopian world, and like Rising the Shield Hero, they discover that they are key to saving this world in the future. The animation looks awesome. I love science fiction and time travel storylines, so fingers crossed and cautiously very optimistic that this won't suck.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It looks cool from what I've seen of it.
All right, comic books. First one up.
Meh. Only nerds like comic books.
Only nerds like comic books. So I'm going to do the first two because they are actually out today. And I won't take time to do reviews. So maybe, David, Save the Future to Secure the Past. I think Save the Future to Save the Future, but we'll see. First up, Champions, #1. So Champions has had a couple of different runs and a couple of different casts. This is a super expanded roster led by Ms. Marvel, led by Kamala Khan. And if you like, the first issue is out and I've read it. If you like the Avengers concepts where the Avengers are so big, or the X-Men that they've got multiple teams and so on, this is kind of your book if you're into the younger superheroes. The art is fantastic. The plot is good. There are times when it's really clear that this is an adult thinking that they know how to write teenage drama. And that's kind of sad. Other than that, it's a really good book so far. One issue in. Anybody looking forward to Champions, or should I just move on?
I'm definitely down for more Kamala Khan, especially in a leadership role.
They do that well. I'll have to give them that. They write her well. The next one that is out, Conan the Barbarian back with Marvel. Conan the Barbarian #1 is out. It is clearly a Marvel style story, but also clearly written, drawn, and as gory and graphic as Conan's last home at Dark Horse. There's lots of heads going. And it's really cool. This is written much more solidly than I think the way Champions is written. Of the two that dropped today, this is my favorite, and the art is fantastic.
Is it as unabashedly campy as Robert Howard was?
Well, yeah, because it's pretty true to the story, or pretty true to the character. In fact, it's more true than, in my mind, than a lot of the '70s. The Roy Thomas, John Buscema stuff. Those were a lot of superhero stories that happened to be wrapped in a sword and sorcery, and this is, so far anyway, pretty typical Robert E. Howard type sword and sorcery stuff.
Cool.
Really cool. Little derivative, but then again, Indiana Jones, welcome. Gamepad, welcome. All right, moving on to our next one. This is also a Marvel one, and speaking of Marvel, the magnificent Ms. Marvel. I'm gonna miss G. Willow Wilson, the original writer from the very beginning on Ms. Marvel. She was fantastic, but I'm really looking forward to what this one and where they take her story beyond what G. Willow Wilson did. Byron, any comment?
I definitely want to see what this new writer does with Miss Marvel. I really slept behind on my comics. The last comic in Marvel that I read was the Red Goblin story arc in SpiderMan.
Okay.
So,
that was a little while ago. All right, well, here you go. Here's the DC. Speaking of, as we did before, Young Justice, they're getting their own comic book.
nice.
Young Justice is coming up soon. The roster looks good. The take on the characters look good. The new introductions look pretty interesting. I mean, a gunfighter. I'm looking forward to this just because it's Young Justice. There doesn't need to be any other reason.
Is Wonder Woman blonde?
That is the Wonder Girl, Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie.
Okay.
So Donna Troy is not Wonder Girl in the DC continuity at this point.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah, she's Troya now.
I haven't read these.
yeah. Cassie's
Obviously.
been Wonder Girl for a while at this point.
Couple decades.
That qualifies as a while.
Is that Jonathan in Connor Kent's outfit?
I think it's Connor.
Oh.
Yep, I think they're going with, from what I've read, they're going with Connor and Cassie. It does look really young. It does look more like Jonathan, doesn't it? But it'd be interesting if that was the case. You know what? If you look at the design there, David, it looks almost like a Starfire Wonder Woman cross. So I'm not really sure who that character is. Somebody look that up for me. But while somebody's doing that, my next one. Captain Marvel is getting a new #1. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a big fan of the cover artist, and if that's the same interior artist, that's going to be tough for me. I'm an art snob. I'm going to have to get through this. But Kelly Thompson is writing it. Kelly Thompson, the writer of the Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps 4-issue miniseries, just the writer of the ongoing current Gambit and Rogue, which is fantastic. I mean, read that book, folks. So the writer's got me sold on this, and we'll see what happens with the art.
It looks a little like John Craig-Faluzzi is penning this.
Yeah.
Is this
Oh my
Ren
God,
and
you're gonna
Stimpy and Carol?
Yeah, we're Ren and Carol. That's right. Captain Marvel and Stimpy.
That I would read.
Actually, I would. I don't think that's going to be the case, but
I don't think so either.
anyway, looking very much forward to that. And that's it for comics. And we're now into our last category, and this is pretty much all Greg. And you know what? I just realized that makes me really sad that I don't have any books on here that I'm looking forward to. I need to get back to reading
bummer.
more.
Bummer, that you do.
I do.
Well, I realized as I was throwing this together that, as is true of much of the sci-fi and fantasy world, they're all episode 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, whatever. There's only one new thing coming out next year that I'm looking forward to.
So we'll start with episode 3 of.
This is going to be titled "The Doors of Stone" for the Kingkiller Chronicles. The Name of the Wind, as a lot of people have heard it. The first 2 books are fucking epic. Slow Regard of Silent Things, that's on the image up there, was like a novelette, like a one-off.
Right. Like an also in the universe of.
Exactly. Spectacular series. Apparently, it's finally been optioned by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Probably Netflix has to do it, maybe HBO. I don't think it'll be on basic cable. It's not raunchy, but I don't think that they would, I don't think the ABCs or the TBSs of the world would do a good job with it. Epic fantasy in the true sense of the word epic fantasy. If you haven't read books 1 and 2, it's the perfect thing to dig into for the winter because they're involved, they're thick, and the world building is sensational. Presumably, I'll just keep plowing right along since we're running a little on the later side.
Next one.
That Doors of Stone, which is the 3rd book in the series, is tentatively coming out in 2019. It's been waiting. People have been waiting for it for some time. Also, in the absolute epic fantasy
and tentative
area, and also considered tentative, is a book called The Thorn of Emberlane, which is book 4 in the Gentleman Bastard series. The Lies of Loch Lamora, Red Seas Under Red Skies, and The Republic of Thieves.
Although I will give it, this is the cover image, so it has a cover at this point. So
yes, he supposedly has been working on it. It's tentative for 2019. If they've got a cover image, that's a pretty good sign. If you haven't read any of the series, the super quick recap is the Brains and Brawn, 2 close friends, are gentlemen bastards and world famous thieves. In another brilliantly written bit of world building, endlessly entertaining.
The next one, the stunning conclusion to the Winter Night trilogy, because that's what it says on the cover here.
It is indeed. So we talked a little bit about this. I said book 2, The Girl in the Tower, was one of my favorite books of 2018. I'm just about done with it now. It's a brilliant bit of retelling of classic Russian folklore with a brave, ass-kicking female, like a young female heroine who's got a lot of flaws and gets her butt kicked a lot and isn't just, some super magical young person who, can do no wrong. Great stuff. The writing is brilliant. The prose is good. The setting is pretty novel. If you haven't read much, Russian folklore, which, because I'm a nerd that way, I have.
Just a second. David has said he found out the name of the character with the light purple outfit and the flaming sword is Amethyst.
Makes sense.
Oh, Princess Amethyst.
No, I don't think that Princess Amethyst.
No.
Unless you are referring to a DC Princess Amethyst.
Yes, DC Princess Amethyst.
Quickly, who is Princess Amethyst?
She was like basically DC's equivalent of She-Ra. She had like late 80s series of comics that about her adventures in a fantasy world.
Yeah. All right, I remember that. Wow.
And there was like a DC Nation short series which was animated by, I believe, the same team as Teen Titans.
Wow.
And it was really awesome, and I wish there was more of that series because I had a lot of fun watching that series.
That's a throwback. If that's really who she is, that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, moving on to our next book.
All right. So up next is
Tiamat's Wrath.
Number 8 in the what has become known as the Expanse series, aka the show that's been on Sci-Fi and is now moving to Amazon for its 4th season.
Yes.
This is the 8th book. Fantastic writing, great storytelling, brilliantly executed real science fiction. It's not super heavy on the science stuff to the point where if you're not an MIT grad, it won't bore you to death. But it's believably realistic without drilling it into you mercilessly the way some hard sci-fi people do. And they've moved it to a slightly jumped forward several years from the end of what will probably be the end of the TV series. It's a clever way of wrapping back an unresolved thread from earlier on in the series, and the stakes are high, if I may use a big market tease that they use on TV. The stakes have never been higher.
And speaking of high, we have a tower, the Raven Tower.
So I will be honest and say I know very little about this so far, but I have read pretty much everything Ann Leckie has written. She did the Ancillary Justice series. I don't know if anybody has read that.
Some I have. Actually, I've read the first two. I haven't been able to make it through the third one yet.
Got it. It ground down a little bit. It got a little. It kind of suffered under the weight of its own portentousness and stuff going on. But the first one in particular was just. I think I had to read it twice to really understand what the fuck was going on. It was just completely novel and unique. I read she wrote another book recently that was a one-off set in the same world, the same universe as the Ancillary series that was completely like self-contained, didn't have nearly the same amount of heavy, like, what the hell is happening here? So that was very readable. And apparently she is now going headlong into a swords and sorcery fantasy novel. And that's about all I know about it. I like the author, so I'm going to give it a shot.
I agree. All right, so that is our lists. Both of you had something that you didn't get to me in time to get images, and you wanted to just, like, honorable mention kind of thing, as I recall. Let's start with Byron. You wanted to honorable mention what?
Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition.
Under Games.
Yes. So a few years back, there was a game in the Tales series called Tales of Vesperia. My favorite game in the series. Tales series doesn't have a huge following here in the States. And now they're doing like a full remaster of it for PS4 and Xbox One. And it's going to have content that was not released in the States during its original run. But it was in, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be awesome. And if you love Tales, or you love JRPGs, check it out.
Cool. Greg, am I misremembering, or did you have another?
No, I remembered what I was going to mention. We were talking about Jordan Peele, and I believe it's due in 2019, but he is producing, I'm not sure if he's also directing, but basically bringing to TV Lovecraft Country, which was a stunning book last year. I think it was 2017. Sorry, I'm still thinking it's 2018. 2017 it came out, so basically last year. Really clever, creative way to use the tropes of Lovecraft and the creeping body horror of it and the creeping elder gods horror of it as a metaphor for Jim Crow era racism. The book was great. It was told as like interconnected vignettes told by multiple different members of the same family, but they all tied together in a linear way. And from what little I know about the series so far, it looks like it's going to be, much in the realm of like Get Out, where he manages to tell a really compelling story, but then you go, oh shit, yeah, oh racism, yeah, now, yeah, whoa.
Now I get it.
Exactly.
Cool.
It's a great story.
Very much looking forward to that myself. All right, Tala, hello, and I'm afraid goodbye, because we're all done. So join us next week, folks. Next week we're going to go back to our regular Tuesday nights. Now that we're out of the holiday period where Tuesday nights happen to be holidays for 2 weeks in a row. So thank you all once again. Rodney Brown, first-person shooter, editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber. Byron Byron D0, the Weeb Trash Can podcast, and Greg Snyder, associate editor here, and Wonderlama Cosplay and Photography. Thank you all, folks, and we will see you next week. Have a great week. Stay warm.
Happy New Year.
And recover from your Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye.